Earlier in the show, Jason and Tiff were having some fun in a couple of US muscle cars. Good value they may be. However, each will set you back around £40,000.
What if I said you could buy into the American dream for £10,000?
All these vehicles have been privately imported and each now costs a quarter of the price of the new cars. The Ford Mustang, the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, and the Chevrolet Corvette C5.
In total, we have over 800 of the finest American horsepowers. Yeah!
Right then, let's get going.
If you're going to look at American muscle cars, or American cars in general for that matter, then you cannot ignore the iconic Ford Mustang.
This fifth-generation Stang was made from 2005 to 2014, and I've got the 210 horsepower V6.
It'll hit 62 miles an hour in 6.4 seconds, which is phenomenally quick for something so big, and it goes on to a very respectable 159 miles an hour. You can get more impressive speeds if you go for the V8, but I'm very happy today with the V6.
And another advantage of the smaller engine is fuel consumption, which can approach 30 mpg if driven carefully.
There's a bit of blobbiness about it, but that's all part of the experience and part of the fun.
So, if you fancy one of these cars, what must you look out for?
The fuel level sending unit can get covered with sulfur compounds from petrol and cause inaccurate fuel gauge readings. So make sure that the one you're buying has got a correct fuel gauge, because a new one will instantly cost you £80 to replace.
And the rubber seals around the doors, bonnet and boot are prone to coming loose. Along with most other parts on the Mustang, these are cheap to replace. However, ignore them and you'll get some embarrassing damp patches that could lead to rust. Next, the Pontiac. Launched in 1993, this fourth version of Pontiac's venerable Trans Am packed 275 horsepower from its 5.7-litre V8.
0 to 62 came up in 6.2 seconds, which is fractionally quicker than the Mustang, and it went on to 160 miles an hour. Even for me, this is a tad too noisy. Needless to say, this is not a standard exhaust system. This is more of a sports car than the Mustang. The suspension is firmer and the body roll is much better controlled here. The seats are incredibly comfortable. I honestly feel as if I've slipped into a whopping great big armchair.
Want a Trans Am? Then keep an eye out for the following.
The engine should be pretty solid, and here's a good tip for you to check. When it's hot, the oil pressure should be between 40 and 60 psi. If it isn't, and there's some blue smoke coming out of the exhaust, then walk away, because you're looking at an engine rebuild pretty soon. Firebird gearboxes are strong, but limited slip diffs aren't. So if you hear a whining sound, then it means that yours is due for an overhaul. Parts are readily available and they're not too expensive.
And finally, the C5 Corvette, which was launched in 1997.
Our first two are poster cars of American muscle machines. But there is one car that is considered by many to be America's finest sports car. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Corvette. With 345 brake horsepower, the Chevrolet's engine is more powerful than the other two. Yet, this car weighs the same. So its 0 to 62 mile an hour time comes up in 5.5 seconds. And it'll go on to 172. So, what to look out for? Well, with the car sitting so low to the ground, the front air dam on the 5th generation Corvette is known to take some punishment, and General Motors acknowledges this. They call the air dam a wear part, something that wears reasonably quickly. A replacement will cost you £100, and don't forget to wait for the time it takes to come across the Atlantic.
And being a very sporty muscle car, the Corvette has a reputation for suffering body damage generally, so check there's no mismatch in paint colours or other signs of repair.
The combined cost of these cars when new, including shipping, was around £90,000. Today you can have them for £30,000, and that is what I call muscle cars on a budget. Which one would I choose?
It would absolutely depend on my mood. If I was feeling stylish, I'd go for the Ford. If I wanted performance, I'd take the Corvette. And if I wanted fun, I'd have the Pontiac. It really is a three-way tie, a fifth gear first.